Morning, traders. Welcome to the pre-market analysis that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen here. So in this, we typically go through a whole bunch of different ideas that we're looking at, some news events that happen over the course this evening, and go through some technicals, breaking down what we're looking at on some charts and what our opinion is on a whole bunch of different things. So after I'm done speaking here, I'm going to give it to Beth. She's going to be going through the macro environment, looking at any news events that happen over the course of this evening, any ideas that she has based off of that. Once that's done, I'm going to come on. We're going to be going through some of the names that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll look at the news associated with those gap up, gap down. So we'll look at the charts, go through some technicals on those charts, go through the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, the Qs, the IWM as well. So basically get a really big picture of what's going on across the board. After that's done, South Beach will pop on. He'll go through the news events that he's looking at from a macro perspective, as well as a money flow perspective and any analyst calls for the day. Then we'll do a quick little recap before the open of everything that we looked at, and we'll be ready to go. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Beth, guys, and I will talk to you in a little bit. Beth, if you're ready, she's all yours.
Hi, Dean. Thank you so much. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. Pre-market here at SpartanTrading.com. This is what we do every morning, sharing our ideas, thoughts, implications from a macro level, as well as how that filters down into the equity side. So we have a couple things that kind of surprised me. This draw on crude was way bigger. We have some hesitancy going on, at least on the physical side. I've expressed what I think is going to happen. It's my idea. I've given this to you before. Even I believe Barron's is talking about the de-levering disconnect between the physical on the oil side and the refiners. I think that comes in that spread. I waited for it to pop a little bit on the extreme, and now I basically am long crude and short the refiners, and we'll see how it plays out. We've done really well with this. I've done really well with this if you follow me on it. My thoughts, my ideas, and we'll see how it plays out. But I have to say, I would have expected the crude to be up a lot more than this. What do we got overseas in the Asia Pacific realms? Things in Australia. This is really building permits. Okay. Look out below, right? I think this is a global issue clearly on the housing side. And we'll see how things evolve. I know rent is so tight. And what's kind of interesting in the area where I live, we're really not seeing, it's very sticky still on the rental side. So anything that's new, they're not lowering their prices. Anything that's old, they are, right? Now, I call bullshit, as you well know. There's no way this manufacturing PI with the shutdowns, okay, is up here, okay? Liar, liar, pants on fire. That's my personal opinion. But hey, think about it. They can say whatever they want to say, and they do say whatever they want to say. Is anybody going to challenge them and say, hey, let's look at your books? No. Unemployment rate harmonized. 3%, no change there. Okay, so here's out of Germany. The employment rate was pretty much, they're very good at this. So, I mean, it's not going to be too much. Okay, unemployment actually went down, only 17,000, right? 5.6% versus 5.5%. Fascinating, right? This is the narrative. I think it has to happen for us to really start thinking in terms of the start of a recession here in the United States. I've been very articulate. There is no way, I think it's maybe 0.1% probability this Fed gets a soft landing. No way. No way. These guys are just totally clueless, right? You know the drill. They ease too long. Well, if we go, and I've said this multiple times, if you go back to 2008, that's when the actual quantitative easing started with the balance sheet build on the Fed. Okay, and it just continued. It really never stopped, right? And then you had financial crisis of 2008, and then you have the COVID crisis, and that's how we get, that's the story, morning glory, right? Inflation rate, oh, okay, so everybody's excited, yay. Inflation came in, it's just a 0.1%. So instead of 10.6, golly gee, you're at 10%. I mean, seriously, double-digit inflation and you're excited about it. I mean, come back to me when it's like 4 or 5%. Yeah, not for a long time. All right, so here's the CPI flash November, slightly better than expected. Core inflation rate was higher. So these headlines of, oh, the inflation's easing in Europe, whatever. There was an auction on the Bund side, the 10-year came in, nice, right? And here we have government budget value. I don't care. This is the GDP growth. I love this country. I mean, come on. They just knock it out of the park. This is really something. I have a small investment in it, but not much. Okay, mortgage back. Here we go. Coming in. The spread is still crazy, right? Market index coming down, refinance index, purchase index. Mortgage applications continue to come in, right? And we have at 8:15, don't forget ADP, GDP growth rate, right? Keep an eye on that, right? And then we have core PCE, okay? Keep an eye on that, right? And then we have, JOLTS, and then we have Powell, and then we have the EIA, well, and then Powell's at, Cook is speaking, yeah, no. So 1:30, and then the beige book. My narrative is, and in my head, this is how I see it playing out. I think we're setting up for a relief rally. Where that gets us to, I have no idea. But I mean, the market has been, look at what we continue to consolidate in the upper quadrant. Okay, for the market as a whole, some names are doing better, some names are not doing well. But that's the way of the world right now. Okay. All right, what do we got? Earnings. XPay. So I'm in XPEV as an investment, and that I am in NEO as an investment. It just makes sense. And I've already sold most of my XPEV. I'm not gonna sell any more, and NEO, I haven't sold any yet, but we'll see. Okay, that's my story. After the close today, we have some interesting. This wolf was interesting too, right? So that's getting Chewy moving, right? So that's kind of interesting. I grabbed a little off of the earnings. We're not talking a lot, just a little. And we'll see how that plays out. Snowflake, Salesforce. Oh my God, CrowdStrike. Mav, if you're in, I'll be honest with you, that caught a lot of people by surprise. Now, I probably will nibble a little bit down here because, I don't know. We're talking a little nibble. Okay. Just a little itty bitty nibble. And then that's how I like to do that. We have Okta, Splunk, and Salesforce. Now we know that Splunk tends to be negative, Okta tends to be negative in December. Well, see what happens. Alta, ChargePoint, yada, yada, yada. UiPath, then we go on. All right, let's take a peek here. This is today, the pre-market. Mainly got low in guidance. And then this one is basically, I think they were happy with Wolf because it beat and they didn't change their guidance, right? That's kind of like a victory sometimes, right? All right, so let's talk about what's going on here. All right, so if we look in the last month on the sectors, right? Consumer discretionary was down, everything was green, right? You can see here that energy was trailing, right? Tech was negative, right? XLU, stuff like that. I still think, okay, that we're going to get basically money coming out of energy, okay, into other sectors, okay? And it could be tech, whatever, but if December, look, there's a reason why from November to June in a midterm election cycle, it's 100% the market rallies. There's a reason for that, right? And then you add on where we are in the cycle, see how it plays out. We haven't had that FOMO type thing, which is kind of exciting, right? All right, so for the first time in 22 years, the world yield curve has inverted. Some are saying that Germany's already in a recession. We are not even there yet. We shall see. I thought this was pretty interesting. So the world's wealth, this is the United States against China, right? 31.5%, 18.4%. Rest of the world, but is 15.6%. But if you look at the chunkiness here, Japan, 25.7%, right? India, South Korea, Taiwan, Germany. I just think it's interesting. Just think it's interesting. All right, let's see. All right, so Guangzhou lifts most lockdowns after violent clashes due to COVID controls. I think this is a narrative that will continue to play out. And I think that you're going to start to see the youth of China say enough of this, come on. And I think that these lockdowns, you're going to see instead of a national, you're going to see a provincial, right? You're going to see certain provinces say, hey, obviously they'll get the blessing, right, of the government. But, this is one way for Xi to save face, right? It's basically have it done on a provincial level and not do anything about it, right? So areas that meet qualifications for the lockdown should ease ASAP. See? All right, so here's the gamma, just so you know. This is after yesterday. And you can see expiring calls puts for the expiration, right? So I think it's fascinating. So don't forget in December, the gamma tends to be negative, okay? So just so you know. The energy crisis across Europe has seen countries spend as much as 700 billion euros this year. This crisis is also accelerating. Now, this is a new word we have to talk about. So we have a commodity super cycle, right? Now we have the fallout from that commodity super cycle. It's deindustrialization. And this is that whole supply chain disruption, everybody for themselves sort of thing, right? This is going to play out, and this is going to be, we're going to hear about this more and more and more, and the impact it will have on the various countries. Okay. German economy minister, the government has decided to exit the energy charter treaty. Yeah. Electricity market revision by the end of, they got a problem. Yeah, I mean, they really do. Did you see that Norway? Yesterday, the government said that they're not going to issue any more certificates, whatever, for drilling rights. So that Equinor, the trade that I've been pounding the table on, like I say, this has $40 to $50 written all over it. It just keeps going up for me. I think we pop the top, but anyways, that's my personal opinion. Eurozone CPI year over year. Wow, look at this excitement here, friends. Wall Street Journal. Eurozone. What? I just showed you it. It's 0.1%. And everybody's excited. It eased. Oh my goodness gracious. So I want to know why nobody reported him. I just wonder, no whistleblower, nothing. Anyways, could a Chinese flag adding mystical? Yeah, this is not going to happen. I'm telling you right now. The writing you saw will be pale in comparison if they continue to do this. Powell's speech, junk bonds rally on hopes inflation has peaked. Au contraire, seriously. Push to revise EV subsidy. Airbnb aims to, this is kind of interesting. I'd like to know what Twins thinks about this. He's a specialist in this. Well, he's a specialist in a lot of things, but I know that he plays a lot in these areas, Airbnb. So they're willing to give a cut to these landlords. That actually is interesting. Okay. Energy stocks can't ignore. All right. So like I say, Balance is talking about the divergence here. This is a big deal. Okay. And I've showed it to you. This is a big deal. Okay. I think, well, you know my narrative. I think this is going to come in. Okay. I'm just saying. Breaking private, I don't want that. Hiring increased by 127. What was the, okay, so that's positive. Let's see what happens. We need these things to build a rally so we can see some things happening, right? I wanted to show you this to you because this is an idea that I have as well, and that's basically rotation into overseas. Slow and steady. I'm not talking a lot, but just a little is enough to get these things going. And I think that's what we're slowly seeing. People dipping their waters in the Chinese market. I agree, that's good. Consensus was high, I agree, twins. But the bonds aren't moving. That's Powell time. Look, this is my action plan. I have no issue putting money in China. And you know I've been in China and I'm up a lot of money on that on a percentage basis. But I always am hedged. It's your action plan. You have to do the homework. You have to decide what percentage exposure you're going to have. You have to decide, okay, how you're going to hedge that. Anything you do, especially when it comes to overseas, you have to have, well, not so much in Germany and not so much that, but in China, you must be hedged. And I do it with Yang. And I told you that. Okay. Navy combat systems. Let's make sure this is up to date. Yeah. Lockheed Martin. This is something I'm gobsmacked over that one, right? So we'll see. I still want 500 plus on it. It's just taking a lot of time. Okay. Moves to layoff on 1250. All these layoffs are positive, okay, for corporations. We've talked about this in the past. This is what should have been happening. And that's why, and this will allow the labor market to not be as tight. This will allow wages to come down, right? This will allow with the unemployment going higher. And this is the tail end of what we need to see. We still just need to see on the inversion. I've showed you going back to the 1970s, 1980s, even back to the Great Depression, okay? That the inversion on the 10-year, 3-month has a long way to go still, right? So Enbridge, basically, I love it, love it, love it, love it, but we'll see. Up in the air as country ends lockdown in iPhone City. I don't know, we'll see. I don't know. Look, from a moral and ethical standpoint, this is reprehensible that they basically are still there. And Tim Cook knows better than that. Okay, he knows what he's doing. See what's going on in the Asian markets? In just second quarter, GDP growth slows to 6.3 and on higher prices, still 6.3, come on. I still love it, India. Okay, this is kind of interesting, the output. Okay, rice exports could jump 15% as key buyers stock up. Okay. Check nuclear plant. Right? They're all over the place. All right, let's do it. Let's see what we got. All right, so this was at one point in time 75.5%. Now it's down to 70%. 30% are looking for a 75 basis point hike. Obviously, this will shift with Powell as well as the beige book. The beige book should be soft. Okay, regionally soft. Okay, why? Because we see the regional components and what's going on with that. We are still incredibly light, friends, in terms of volume on the option side, even on the equity side. So it doesn't take a lot to move this market. A lot of hedges were put on, right? So the Zoom is in the money. Okay, so obviously that's a roll or just aggressive hedging, right? So this time of year, it's really hard to read the tea leaves on these things. And you have to just be aware of that. Okay, what do we got? No insider buying yesterday? Nope. No multiple insider buying, I should say. We had one MSPO, $12,000. It's that time of year, friends. All right. So you had a ton of insider selling. And then this lending club was tied to options as well as RELY. All right, let's see what our studs and studettes are talking about today. End of the month. Last day of selling coming, in theory. All right, initiations, KBAL, Kimball International, Rubin, 79%, Stud, 69%. I love it when we got these big numbers coming in. Not so much, look, why would you follow someone who's 16% success rate? Okay, I even get a little bit, hold my nose, even when I like 60+% when I look at this. Okay, now let's see the downgrades. Steel case, buy to hold, no price target. Here we have Carvana, Nat, but you raised the price 36%. Good golly, Miss Molly. Good golly, Miss Molly. That's all I have to say. So this is why, you know how the Fed gets an F-? These analysts are not the analysts of my youth and South Beach's youth and even Twins' youth. Okay, a lot of people's youth. These guys, gals, sorry, but they're like weather people, persons. The vast majority don't get it right, which is really something. And yet people follow them. At ED, Consolidated, and Cooper companies. Right, no price change in this SO Sound Hound, but it's only a 39% dude, so no can do. What's getting no fives today, just fours. Okay, well, that's not unimpressive, right? Let's see, put call ratio. Now, this is a divergence we have to talk about right now. Okay. So this is actually pessimism, okay? So this is what it looked like during COVID, right? We got up here. You can see here May, right? Then we have January, and then we have this. Okay, bottoms happen, okay, when it's down here. Okay. Anyways, this is just crazy. So you can see here, market rolled over. You can see here, market rolled over. You can see here, market started to roll over. Okay, so that's a red flag. This is fascinating as well. One of the fastest deleveraging in 70 years. 70. Wow. Okay. And this is when lows happen, right? This is basically saying I'm out. I'm done. Okay. So investors pull back on their loans. I'll say this is where we are. Okay. And then you can see a giant rally in the S&P. Right. But don't forget, I showed you in the 1970s, because inflation is sticky, you may have reprieves that allow the market to rally for multiple months, but you continue because of the stickiness of inflation. Okay, it comes back. So what happens is you start to get quantitative easing, right? And then all of a sudden, the systemic nature of the commodity supercycle comes back. It may take months, it may take a year, and you can go a lot higher, right? But then you have to be careful. Okay. Anyways, kind of fun. S&P after greater than 3% rally from 1 year low, and margin debt makes new low. Let's see what it is. Bullish, right? 85% 6 months out. And this is what we're looking at right now, friends. This 6-month rally going into June. It should start in December. The vast majority have really good tailwinds in December, right? So here's smart money, dumb money. You can see it switching over. Here's our heat map. I mean, this should be pretty obvious. It's overseas, right? So this is the narrative. This is what I'm thinking about. Overseas investments, right? I'm in China. I'm very, very light on EWG, okay? And I'm very, very light on EWU, but we'll see. I don't know yet. I'm still thinking about it, right? Here's the reset, right? 50-day, everything's reset, nothing wrong there. And then you can see here with the energy, right? Where we're going, right? Let's do it. Let's get into these charts, bonds, inversion. Like I say, we're not done on this inversion. And I think this is the big headwind for this market is they haven't priced this in, okay? I don't think they've priced it in. They have not priced in an extension of this inversion, and that's going to scare a lot of people. But as you can see, we're becoming desensitized to some of this stuff. We're getting desensitized to these Fed heads talking. We're getting desensitized to a lot of things, and that's natural, and that's why I think once we get through, I think a bad unemployment number will be good for the market. All right, that's why I think we're going to rally. I think we're going to get a relief rally. That's my personal opinion. Right? Canada rates are higher. Overseas, all of Europe is higher. Yada yada. Australia higher. Well, this is the same thing, right? So here's the 5-year still flagging. Okay. This is the 5-2 inversion. It can go lower. We've discussed that, right? Right. So and here's the 2-10. We've discussed this can go lower, right? Because everybody's only looking at these 1988. They're not going back to the 1970s, right? And you know that we go back to the 1970s, right? And you can see here, when you go back in time, right? Guess what? This is where we're at. This is where we were. This is where we can be, okay? So on these inversions, don't get lackadaisical about this, all right? So you can see here across the board, we have a long way to go. This is the 2-1. Look at this inversion here. This is where we're at, okay? So like I said, you are prepared for this. The question's gonna be, can the market calm itself down and shrug it off, right? Chinese interest rates, as you can see, this is their 10-year getting up to here. I don't know if they're going to pop that top, but we'll see. Germany's, it's flagging, right? Dollar, let's see what's going on. It's still holding this huge support level, right? And here we have the Chinese yuan, double top in place, but it's still holding this monthly. I still think that it has to weaken some more, but it's a slippery slope, right? For foreign direct investments, you don't want to worry about currency devaluation, right? Okay, there we saw it, cryptos. Gold, nice green today. This is it, red, green, 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 red, green. This commodity super cycle has probably 5+ years to go. So pace yourself, my friends. Okay, I am accumulating silver. I'm going to be overweight soon across my portfolios. As a share, this is me. I think silver is going to have a massive run. And I'm looking at a new trade that I will share with you. I'm going to discuss it in class. I haven't quite found the vehicle yet to do it. Okay. But anyways, that's just a little teaser. But my students get to see everything I'm doing. So I posted in the other in my student chat, webinar chat. So there we go. DBC still holding fine. Data gas, like I said, we're pinned right now and we're in the mid. So there's no well-defined risk reward. Just sit on your hands right now until we get that. I will probably add down here. Okay, if we get down there. And then I'll add if we break out and hold this. This is basically the mid. Okay, FYI. All right, here's crude natty gas. All right, so what are we seeing? We're seeing crude start to outperform natty gas. This is one of the first things we want to see, right? Okay. And then the other thing we want to see is, for me, you know, I want to see the crude outperform the refiners. Okay. Crude double top, we are reclaiming this pivot. This is a perfect buy for me. Okay, I bought UCO. All right. And then we're now reclaiming this. And I think, so it's just range bound right now. You buy down here, you sell the pops, you leave a little piece on. If it breaks, then you add back in. It's that simple. Gold crude, you see it was rebuffed here at this pivot. Fantastic how that held. But I mean, for me, this was, 46% trade. And here's gold. I think gold breaks out, you know that. I think the accumulation, basically, central banks are picking up the supply. And I think that the balance sheets are going to look a lot better. Right here, the markets, you know, mainly up. Right? We'll see how it plays out. Nothing's going to happen until Powell, right? So here's DAX. I can't really buy it right now until it breaks and holds that. I'm not short it, but I can't buy it. FAS, I still have a really nice position on in this. I haven't done anything with it yet because, as you can see, it's holding the uptrend line. Okay, if it breaks, then I'll buy some puts. EFA, I'm in this. It's got to break this double top. I mean, look, there's a lot of resistance. Slow and steady. Okay, FXI, you know the drill here. It is reclaiming the 78% fib. Okay, now it's about to reclaim this pivot. This is incredibly bullish. Okay. But you can't chase it right now. You got to wait for a pullback. Right? If you're not in it, you can only day trade it. Issues, who cares? But it is actually looking much better. I don't know why institutions like it, but they have been buying this. They've been buying KWeb. But mainly, believe it or not, it's been FXI that they've been buying this time around. We are breaking a monthly downtrend that goes back to November 2021. Notable. Okay. Just notable. EEM, basically, as you can see here, it's getting back to the 200 EMA on the monthly. This is China. It's weighted to China. CQQQ is kind of interesting. I have a small position in it. Okay. And then this is it. QQQ. This is what I'm talking about, friends. This is money coming out of the US into China. That's what's going on right now. Okay. And the more this extends, the more people saying, oh dear, I have to put some money on here. Okay. This is a 21% outperform move of China versus the US. We are at a key fib. Okay. We break below that. Then we have room down here to 671. And then we get down here. Okay. And if that happens, then basically you're talking about a move down to here. Okay? And that will be another 10%. So the market is kind of pushing, okay, pushing some of these institutions to start to invest in it, okay? Fang. I think this is broken. I think that there's so much easier trades out there right now. And Spartan is finding them. His opinions, his ideas are just fantastic and they're working. Growth value, whatever. And his SPY growth value, you know the drill, right? But, we are into a key support here. Okay, we're in the lower Bollinger Band. Okay, and as you can see here, this is the breakout level, right, from here. So on a risk reward basis, okay, it's also, as you can see, the 100 EMA on the monthly. So I'm just saying growth versus value. Anyways, XRT, let's take a peek. Has surpassed this double top, triple top actually. Okay, this is a monthly. Let's see what happens there for continuation. Dow Jones Transports has broken this downtrend line in the monthly. Notable. I'm in FedEx. That's how I'm playing it. Just because it was taken to the woodshed. So if we're going to get a recovery globally, right? Well, you know the deal with this. Okay. This has a lot of room to go on the upside, right? And this would be, and the reason why I bought this, I bought it down here a little bit. I don't have a lot on, but I'm out to 2024 on it, okay? And this is just in my head, I'm saying, okay, well, if we do get a recovery, right? FedEx is going to benefit. Now it's got happy management, don't get me wrong, but even FedEx can bounce on this one. Here's the XLF, this is the financials. I don't know, like I say, but this is where we're at. And we're trying to break this triple top on a monthly. I'm just shouting it out. I don't know. Like I say, I don't know how they make money. XLY, keep an eye on this one. Okay, so this is actually consolidating. You know the drill, right? Multi-month sideways consolidation. And there's a lot of resistance to the upside, but it's something we have to be aware of. So what is this? Amazon, Tesla. That's what it is, basically. XLK. This is the tech name. This is the monthly. It's trying to break out on the monthly. and then reversion to the mean, right? So a lot of these will try to revert to the mean, and it can get as high as up here, 145 on that DX. Okay. I've been sharing, and I know that goes to he's my student. I've been talking about TQQQ. I just have lottos going out to December and January on TQQQs. Because if my narrative is, and we know that December starts a huge seasonality tailwind, it's going to be tech.
All right, Beth, ready to pop on here. Thank you so much. Morning, guys. What's going on? So let me pop up the screen share here. Let's take a look at what we got going on today. A couple different things. If you guys are new to chat and have already done so, make sure to click on the Discord link that's emailed to you. When you do pop into Discord, it's going to look something a little bit like this. When you guys do come into chat, first area to go to is this new to chat information section, as well as this disclaimer section. Click on that, give it a read. The disclaimer, you can go to the link there, as well as new to chat information section. See at the top, as well as this, risk reward section here. So I think, in my opinion, makes sense to go through that risk reward as well. You have a ton of good tools in there. Video explaining how risk reward works. Get risk reward profiles on top, which you can find useful to match to your accounts as well as your risk reward threshold. And then obviously you have this risk reward calculator below, which you can use in conjunction with that if you would like, in that regard. Continue to scroll down. You have summary of how this chat works, breaks down all these channels work on the left-hand side. So you can probably navigate the chat. Below this is how to read the alerts and the options and equity ideas. Pretty straightforward there. Spartan's options rules that I use for trading options during the week, as well as the SPX rules that I use. So if you want to understand what I'm doing in that regard, I do have that posted just for your information purposes, as well as anyone with a small account less than 10K. Here's some information in our opinion in growing those accounts that could help, as well as how to pick ideas below that. And then if you have issues picking ideas, there's less ideas posted in the high conviction small account area, which could be useful to you. Pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got going on today, guys? A couple different things: Tesla, Workday, BIIB, Crowd, STT, and Woof. So Tesla gapping up slightly and simply the market. Workday gapping up. Workday climbs the stock as earnings is managed to top Wall Street views. BIIB, 11 experts from leading medical institutions and 8 experts from ISO published full results of lecanemab, I guess, phase 3 confirmatory clarity and ad study for early Alzheimer's disease in New England Journal for Medicine, gapping up on that. Crowd, earnings beat EPS and revs, year-over-year growth 52.8%, Q4 guidance lowered, revs and EPS up. SCT announces an agreement to terminate its planned $3.5 billion purchase of Brown Brothers Harriman Investor Service Unit, gapping up on that, and Wolf gapping up on earnings. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, so first two we're looking at today, guys, is going to be that Tesla and that Workday from a technical standpoint. So let's see what these things look like on the daily charts. So what do we got? So Tesla, guys, pivot to the upside today. Let's just take a look at that daily real quick. A decent gap up in sympathy with the market, not bad. We are getting rejected at that EMA resistance on the daily. We continue to do so from a technical standpoint, so that's clear. Let's get these ranges labeled. It's been pretty much operating in a pretty tight range as of late. Let's see here, intraday though. So it's still below trend. It's still below the EMA resistance. Pivot to the upside today, in my opinion, will be 182.15 level holds. You have the 185.97 resistance above to 188.94. Unable to hold, we have that 179.05 support below and that 176.91 support below that. Overall, in my opinion, I'd be leaning on the bullish neutral side of Tesla today, looking for a little bit of a push out the gate this morning. What we've been seeing the last couple of days is you get that upside move in the morning, and then obviously it's been giving it back in the afternoon because it's been getting rejected at that EMA resistance. So we'll see what happens in that regard, but that's what I'm paying attention to at the moment. Let's take a look at this Workday, guys. So Workday, pivot to the upside today is going to be the, first and foremost, let me just, we gotta get higher. I don't know why I'm so low at the moment. So let's get the 50 MA, just label that level. That's an important resistance. You got some resistance right there. Resistance as well at that 156.16 up here, and then obviously those levels there. Now let's take a look at this intraday. So you are reclaiming the EMA support on the daily. You're above the 50 EMA, that's clear. Pivot to the upside, in my opinion, will be 156.13 today. Level is able to hold. You have room towards that 159.03 resistance, and then above that you have 162.91 resistance level. Up below this, 153.13 support to 154.10 49 support levels on the downside. Overall, in my opinion, if it holds that pivot point, guys, I'd be looking for a continuation push to the upside today. We've been seeing a lot of these names that have decent earnings hold their earnings gap and push. So we'll see if that happens with this name as well today. Time will tell. Tesla and Workday. All right, let's take a look at the next two, guys. So next two names that we're looking at today, or I'm looking at, I should say, BIAB and then Crowd. Let's have a gander at those two. So BIAB, guys, what do we have? A little bit of a gap up there on that news with its Alzheimer's drug, which is always positive. 305, it's got the EMA support. That recent range resistance level right there from the previous day. And then we can take a look at the daily and go through some more levels here. So you got some resistance here on the daily, 311.72, above that 315, 319. It's interesting, you know, BIB used to be a runner on this type of news. I mean, you can see all the past, it typically gave it back, but it did have a pretty big, huge gap ups and moves on the anything to do with Alzheimer's drug, but not so much anymore. Now, pivot to the upside, in my opinion, today will be 302.79. This level is able to hold. You do have room for continuation to 307.86 to 311.76 on the upside. Unable to hold 296.35 to the 291.72 level would be tested on the downside. Overall, on BIIB, I'd be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to stay intact. So that's BIIB. Let's take a look at Crowd. So Crowd did get spanked on earnings there, as we saw. They're at about 114 a share. At, let's see here. There's a resistance thing. I need to go this slow, but we'll do it. All right. So like I said, you know, pulled back on earnings. I'd be using this level right here as the pivot, in my opinion, to the upside today. 113.43, this level is able to hold that 116.55 resistance above to 120.24. Unable to hold, you have that 109.06 support on the daily, and then 104.35 on the downside. You can see that 109.06 support did get retested and held last day in the after hours. Clear. Yeah, I'm going to be leaning, in my opinion, on the bearish side. If it's unable to hold that pivot, I'd be looking for continuation lower. The earnings weren't terrible by any means, but you know, because it sold off on them, I think you can see for the continuation lower. One thing was off on the guidance, which was that revenue. That's BIAB, that's Crowd. Let's take a look at the next two, guys. Next two names are STT, STT and Woof. And STT had a pretty good move on their earnings as well. Nice little push up to 80 bucks, looks like. Right off that 50 May. It was extended to the downside yesterday as well. Actually had a pretty good pullback. Let's label this resistance on the daily there as well. Get a little bit right there from before. Some support levels here. Right there as well. Looks like above that 82 level, that does have room, in my opinion. $83.99. Okay. 79.19 pivot levels able to hold. We have room towards $80 to the 81.19, the resistance on the upside. Unable to hold 77.90 to 76.52 on the downside. Overall on STT, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today if that pivot point can hold. I think we got some nice room for continuation there. in my opinion. So 79.19 was the pivot to the upside, in my opinion, on the daily, and we'll have to watch that level pretty closely out the gate to see if it can hold. All right, let's take a look at this woof, which actually decent earnings as well. I'm coming off the lows. I don't mind this chart at all. Actually, I kind of like it. It does have some nice room to the upside if it can get going. 50 MA is going to be that big level to the upside, in my opinion. You got a little pivot right there at 1290. I get a lower end support here. Get that lower end support as well. 6. Okay, support, resistance, good. Okay, cool. So pivot to the upside, in my opinion, today will be that 1098 area, which is the 50 MA on the daily. We'll call it 1099. Levels able to hold, you have room back towards 155 resistance. That level breaks, the next resistance is 1207. Unable to hold, 1067 support will be below that to 1012 support on the downside there. In my opinion, if it holds that pivot, guys, I think we can get a nice little continued push to the upside off the lows. Again, that's the 50 MA, so you're going to need to hold that level, get confirmation above it for continuation is what I'm looking at from a personal standpoint. All right, so that's STT, and that is woof. All right, let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG here, guys. All right, so let's just bring up the daily on the market here, because I always like to look at that daily chart. It gives you a way better insight alongside the daily or inside the intraday chart of what's actually going on, in my opinion there. So you got, well, obviously you have the uptrend still intact on the daily, right? We know that 50 EMA support on the daily is still holding at the moment, and that's been the battleground the last couple of days. That level right now is 394.83, so I'm going to move that up. Let me just do that real quick, guys. I'm just going to label some resistance levels I have on the chart from before, and I'm going to move this one 394.84. Get rid of this. And we're again, I'm going to look at that 394.84 level as the pivot to the upside, because it is this, that strong support level on the daily. If this level is able to hold, in my opinion, I think we can get continuation higher to 397.93 to 401.59. Unable to hold, 390.90 to 388.10 are the next support levels on the downside below that pivot. Hourly, not high. Where is it? I don't want to use the one in the pre-market. Use this one. Okay, well, there's your hourly downtrend. Obviously, that's broken. It's kind of retesting it at the moment. See that right now? Let's go. Obviously, we got Chicago PMI today, as well as Powell's going to be saying some things. So realistically, that's what's going to be moving the market. But if we're looking at the technicals, in my opinion, I'd be leaning on the bullish neutral side, as long as it can hold above that downtrend as well as the pivot. That's two big resistance levels to get back above and support to hold. All right, let's take a look at Apple here. Apple's been acting like garbage. I do agree with Beth's opinion with staying away from the FANG names right now, just because I think she's definitely correct in that. 142.44 pivot to the downside today. In my opinion, unable to hold. You have that 140.24 support below it, and then 137.67 would be the next support. Able to hold that pivot, you have 144.23 resistance above. And in my opinion, I'd be leaning on the bearish side. As long as it stays below that pivot, I think that you probably will see continuation lower. It's pretty obvious relative weakness yesterday on Apple. They really didn't bounce it. They kept selling it off. It really didn't get above any support. Was it being sold off into today? Yes, I think so. We'll see what happens in that regard, once we get some news and verbiage coming out from Powell as well. All right, let's take a look at Amazon here. Just going to label some levels. Okay, I'm going to use 92.80 as the pivot to the downside today. In my opinion, I think that would be the appropriate level. This level is unable to hold. We have the 91.47 to 90.53 supports below. Able to hold, you have 94.52 resistance above. And in my opinion, I'd be leaning on the bearish side today. Let's take a look at Netflix. And obviously you can see, it's breaking that range to the downside on the daily right now. Now it's just gonna be a matter of confirmation. Netflix pivot to the downside today. That just doesn't look terrible. See, Netflix has been actually holding its breaks of the range. It's been pushing back to retest them, which I think is pretty impressive. Okay, let's take a look at this thing intraday. Pivot to the upside today, in my opinion, will be 282.49. That level holds. You got 285.41 resistance above the 289.01, unable to hold 277.38 support below. Then you have that 272.36 level. In my opinion, I'd be leaning on the bullish side if the pivot point can be reclaimed. And we'll see what happens in that regard. That's Netflix. Let's take a look at Meta. Okay, I don't know why I didn't label anything, but let's see if it did. Oh, it did. Okay, good. I'm actually going to label last day's high as well, because it's a nice level to keep on the chart. We can get that support level there from before, just because it starts to get pretty big gaps. In my opinion, I'd use 109.45 as your pivot. This level is able to hold room back towards that 110.98 resistance, I think, in my opinion there. That level breaks, so that 112.79 is the next resistance on the daily. Unable to hold 108.12 is the next support below the pivot, and then 104.50 is what I got after that. Overall on Meta, I'm actually gonna be leaning more on the bullish neutral side, in my opinion. If that pivot point can hold, I think you can get a nice little push back to the upside. Of course, you got to hold the pivot and get confirmation there. Like, that's going to be the key for myself on that name. All right, let's take a look at Google. All right, last but not least, guys, Google 94.01 pivot level holds towards 96.96. And then above that, it has room towards 98.10. So 95.58 pivot level holds 96.94 to 98.10 will be tested. Unable to hold 94.04 to 92.96 on the downside. Overall on Google, maybe leaning bullish, or leaning on the bearish neutral side, in my opinion, if that pivot point's unable to hold. So we'll see what happens in that regard. So that's the SPY. That's the thing. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to do the VIX, Qs, and IWM by myself, and then we'll go over it in a recap right before the open, just because I'm out of time for a little bit here. So I'm going to go ahead and pass over to Selpeach for a little bit, and then I'll come back on and we'll go through the rest. Okay. Selpeach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Hey guys, okay, what do we got? 10 years up a little bit, 0.02, 377, 2-year, 452, 23, 73, 75, 76 spread, so staying really high on that inversion. We'll see what Powell has to say today. Who knows? I think he'll be hawkish, but what do I know? Rates are up pretty much across the board after coming in for a while. Okay, we had our 10-year at 430, and now it's 377. So they've come down for the last few weeks, right? And that goes for everybody pretty much. 10 years up a little bit in London, 315. The inversion is still there, but albeit small. The curve is just flat as a pancake over in Europe, and that includes London, Britain, and Germany, and France, and all of them. Slight inversion, nothing major. 20.20 in Germany, little about the same in London, same in France, etc. So bonds are up a little bit. Inversion is across the board. The most is here, but we'll see what happens. All right, oil prices are up a bunch this morning, another 3%. We're gonna circle back to that. Natural gas 717, moving towards the higher end of the range being 5 to 9 and change, but we're still kind of sort of in the middle, right? And as far as gold, that's up a little bit, which probably means the dollar's down. We'll look in a minute. Copper trading range. I think copper is going to go way up. That's my opinion. Maybe, I mean, if we have a recession, it'll probably, hang out, but eventually it's going to rip. Agricultural commodities, pretty flattish across the board. Some up, some down, not a whole lot going on in that area. Most things are kind of in a trading range or a little bit, some have gotten smoked. Cotton, we've discussed that, cotton, coffee, etc. Currency wise, dollars mixed against North America, up against the yen, but the yen has been really strong as of late after getting the crap kicked out of it. So we're at 139, up a little bit, down from 151. The Chinese currency is having a big day, 707. Maybe they're thinking they're going to open up sooner than later. Clearly, that's what the stocks are telling us, right? 707, I think it goes to 7 and then hangs out for a while, just like it was prior to the pandemic. Euro's flat against the dollar, more or less, and the pound, same, okay? These ones are kind of crappy. And we move to crypto, okay? Crypto's up 2% in Bitcoin, Ethereum's up 3%, and Solana's up 16 cents, which is 1%. And foreign markets, what do we have? The FTSE's up 73, DAX up 34, CAC up 51, which is about 1% on the FTSE, barely, CAC, DAX is about 0.25%. Looking at the Nikkei, down a bit. China was basically flat and Hong Kong was up another 2%. Hong Kong is up for the month over 26% for the month. That's eye-popping in my opinion. Okay, after getting annihilated. And these European markets, they're up for the year, guys. Well, Germany's still down 4%, but London's up 7%. So, they didn't really participate when we were coming out of the pit, when our tech stocks were going crazy with zero rates. Now they're outperforming. Okay, so that's it. That's the early look. Let's see what's going on and other things. We have the banks and the Fed. We have 3 Fed governors speaking today and Powell. I don't really get why the 3 governors are speaking. I understand why Powell's speaking, and we'll see what he has to say. Based on some numbers coming out today, I would think, look, here's the thing, okay? He wants spending, he wants the economy, he wants the consumer to feel tight, okay? He doesn't want them spending money, he wants them to feel poor, yada, yada, yada. So what has happened since the last time he spoke? Okay, the market is ripped to the upside, right? Clearly. Interest rates have come down, clearly. And people are feeling less bad than they did prior to, less bad since the last meeting, okay? Clear. There's no question about that. And based upon what he's trying to obtain, I would think he's not happy about that. Okay, so I would think, based on his agenda, that he'd err on the side of being hawkish, based on those things. Okay, so anything less than that would surprise me. I don't think the market, is that susceptible. Maybe for today it might be, but this, this time of year, markets are generally pretty buoyant. And that's what I'm thinking, okay? So I would say he's going to be pretty hawkish. I don't know how hawkish, but I think pretty hawkish. And I think he'll kind of be in the camp of, what's his face? Bullard. Not quite that hawkish, but that's what I think he's going to be, okay? And then the other 3 knuckleheads are speaking. Does it really matter when you have Powell speaking? I mean, I don't think it matters. So that's that. Okay, we'll see what he says. It's at 1:30, I think he speaks, or 1 o'clock. I think 1:30. And then you have the beige book at 2. So, I mean, that'll pale in comparison to what Powell says, and we'll see how it goes, okay? So the market should churn until he speaks, in my opinion, and we'll see how that develops. All right, China. They're saying that economic activity was a little consolidated further in November because of all the lockdowns. China is taking action against protesters, according to all these news sources. They're not doing it in public, but they're going to people's homes and whatnot, and arresting people, et cetera, et cetera. They've begun the crackdown, et cetera, et cetera. And what can you say? The only thing I could say is I'm thrilled I don't live there, and I feel sorry for anyone who does. What else? Let's move on. Let's talk about Apple for a second. You know, what bothers me about Apple the most, what's his face, the CEO, has this holier than thou attitude towards everyone and everything that doesn't fit his agenda. Okay, he's gone after multiple people in multiple places, Zuckerberg et al. And he uses that app store as a gateway to what he thinks is appropriate. And then he has sweatshops, and which is a little disgusting. And then he does away with AirDrop, which basically the protesters were using to communicate with each other. Okay, I think they should throw his freaking ass out of the CEO spot. I mean, I don't mind if a guy sticks to his guns. Like, we know certain people are a certain way, okay? But you can't play both sides of the coin. And that's what he's doing, and I find it very distasteful, okay? You know, if he wants to stick to agenda, he shouldn't have gotten rid of AirDrop, and he shouldn't be doing what's going on with the manufacturing over there, okay? So he's, as Livid eloquently put it, the master hypocrite, and it pisses me off. Okay, let's move on. Banks are trying to get rid of that $42 billion in debt that they incurred putting on deals. Well, the biggest one is probably Twitter, and they're willing to take losses to get it off their books. So they're trying to move that up and out, especially when this dip in rates. We'll see how successful they are with that. So that should be interesting. Bullard, you know, we talked about a little bit. He wants restrictive rates. He thinks 4.9% Fed funds is the minimum that this should be at now. Okay, so I find that interesting. We have jobs data on Friday. That could be market moving, we know. SBF is speaking at a Deal Book Summit today in New York. I wouldn't be shocked if he was arrested. That's kind of sort of what I think is going to happen. Hell, I think he should be arrested. So I don't know what the hell they're waiting for. He's going to be in New York. Now's their opportunity. Good luck. All right. Europe still can't agree on price caps for Russian oil. Ukraine thinks it should be $30, which is kind of laughable, but we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Jeff Curry, who I think has been dead right on just about everything he said, he thinks oil stocks are very cheap at this level, etc. Carson Block, he was speaking, he says he can't invest in China because they have changed their policy towards foreign investment, and the macro picture is too hard to assess. Goldman is saying the stock market should be flat for the next 12 months. Top Republicans are starting to distance themselves from Trump. They cite McConnell and John Thune, and that thing with the white supremacists and Kanye meeting is quite distasteful, and I think he will not get any nomination for the Republican Party. Okay, I think he is assured. And I think the Republican Party will be a lot better off without him, but you guys can have your own opinion on that. Tesla's market share, it was 79% in 2020, 2021, 71. Now it's 65%, and they're predicting that in 2025, it'll be 20%. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to sell less cars. It just means that there's going to be a lot more EVs on the road. Rail strike, we're getting close, 12/9. My guess is it's averted because they're really focusing on it at the White House, and I think that'll be the end result. Home sales, pending home sales, 10 a.m., beige book at 2. Mortgage rates are down for the third week in a row. They're now 6.49. Okay, they were 6.67 last week. This Tom Lee thinks energy stocks could double. Mike Wilson, he had a little column in CNBC this morning. He thinks the market is going to be good for a month, and then it'll revisit the 3,000 to 3,200 level because earnings are going to be crappy for the first quarter. He sees, companies cutting earnings pretty good. All right, so that's what he's saying. And he's been right. So I like to go with the hot hand, and he's clearly been the hot hand. Okay. As far as earnings came, Workday was good, right? And they announced a $500 billion buyback. Hewlett with HPE was decent. DOOO was good. Fro, BEKE, Wolf, XPIV was good, and TITN was good. BIIB had positive Alzheimer's data. State Street's up a bunch. They canceled that deal to buy a division of Brown Brothers Harriman. Brown Brothers is like one of the oldest investment banking firms there is. I think George Bush's dad was a partner there, actually. W had a strong 5-day sales. HZNP, if you're a risk arb guy, this is what you want to see. You've got 3 real buyers of this company. Okay. And it's probably an auction, and it should go for, what were they saying? Karen came out with a number. I think it was 120 to 130. So we'll see how that goes. Where's the stock trading? Yeah, it's interesting. Let's see how the options look. Okay, what else we have? Boeing, the talk is that the U.S. is going to certify the 737 MAX, very shortly. CTVA bought a $1.2 billion business. Short side, we had CrowdStrike, HRL, KNOP, LESL, NTAP, and Intuit. Okay, CrowdStrike is the best of breed company, so you have a couple of things trading down with it. All right, FTNT being one of them, ZS being the other. Okay, Micron said at a Wells Fargo summit that prices are trending well below what we thought they would be when we last spoke on our earnings call. Okay, that does not bode well for that group. So keep that in mind. You see Micron, Western Dig, STX are down. I would assume it's bad for the whole group. If you didn't know that, that's important. Okay. GDP number came in better than expectations. I think that would lend itself to Powell being a little more hawkish than he might otherwise have been. And ADP employment numbers were positive, better than expectations also. So I think he doesn't want that punch bowl there, and he's going to, that's why I think he's going to be bearish. But let's see. After the close, we have Box, CRM, Okta, Snow, Splunk, VSCO, Yext, and tomorrow we have DG, KR, and Big. I was looking at, I was talking to you guys about Carvana yesterday afternoon, if you remember, and I said, the stock's got what, 8 billion in debt. They don't have a lot of cash, yada yada yada, and this could be a donut. Well, today, Bank of America downgraded it to neutral, took the target from 43 to 10, and they said exactly the same thing. Cash burn, liquidity issues, 600 million in interest payments every year. They have 477 million in cash, and debt is like 7 billion. So they could be out of cash. They may have to do secondaries. This thing's in real trouble. And the thing they really need to do, and the only thing they should do, is get rid of the CEO as fast as possible and get in the guy who can fix a mess. Because make no mistake about it, this thing is a mess. And you have stocks like, people are trying to look at these high PE tech names. Snow reports tonight, and they, Kramer blows smoke up this guy's ass every time he's on TV. Frank's Luca this and Frank's Luca that. But the truth of the matter is, guys, it's trading at a PE of over 400. Where is it worth buying? Is it 130? I certainly don't think so. Okay. I mean, when are these guys going to get a PE that's kind of sort of normal? Even like 80. For it to have a PE of 80, the stock would have to get annihilated. All right. So I'm not a big fan of these high PE tech stocks, at these levels. What I am a fan of, and John is alluding to, is these commodity stocks. Okay. If China wakes up, these stocks could all fly. AA, FCX, the oil stocks. I mean, these guys are sitting in the catbird seat. They've been underinvesting in this area for years, decades probably. And this guy, Jeff Curry's been talking about it ad nauseum. And this is the group that kind of has a lot of up to it, in my opinion, not high PE tech. Okay, Beth has been on that for a long time as well. And I think she's dead right. And that's that. Okay. Rate increases. So right now for 50, we're at 67%, and 75 is 32%. I would doubt we get 75, but who knows? We'll get some indication of that today. Research-wise, these guys just suck. Okay, every one of them reiterates the buy on CrowdStrike except one firm who downgraded it to a hold. What do these companies have to do for the analysts to change their mind? They've been chasing these stocks down for 2 years. And most of them have buys on them, even though they've gotten crushed. And every time they get crushed, they just lower the target. Okay, target's 400, stock target's 300, target's 200. Now Carvana, the target is 10. Okay, so, it's hard to read, but sometimes you read it, you read something interesting. Like yesterday, we had the one about, what was that stock? But today we had Carvana, and yesterday it was something interesting that I was harping on. What the hell was it? Oh, it was Generac. Okay, so occasionally you find a needle in a haystack that gives you some insight, but these guys generally suck. Anyway, I think it's going to be a lot of, back and forth, like kind of we had yesterday, until Powell speaks, and then we'll see what's what. Okay, that's it from me. I'm going to hand it back to Spartan, and let's make some money.
Alrighty, guys, morning. What's going on? So if you guys are new to chat and have already done so, make sure to click on the Discord link that's emailed to you. Pop into chat. It's going to look something a little bit like, this. First area to go to when you guys do pop in is this new to chat information section, as well as this disclaimer section. Give them both to read, especially the disclaimer, super important. In this new to chat information section, guys, like I said, at the top, you'll see a link to the disclaimer right below this bolded risk reward section. Super important to understand both. In regards to the risk reward, guys, one of the most important things in trading. Why? Well, if you don't skew that ratio in your favor from a mathematical standpoint, it's impossible to be profitable. So does it make sense to understand how it works? You bet it does. Now, let's take a look at, let's continue to scroll down, I should say. And let's take a look at the summary of how this chat works, which breaks down how all these channels works. You can probably navigate the chat throughout the day. That's important so you know where to be looking. If you continue to scroll down, you have the how to read alerts on the options and equity ideas that are put out in the chat. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Basically breaks down, how to understand what we're saying in those regards. Below this is the options rules that I use Monday to Thursday in the options section, as well as the SPX rules that I use. So if you're you're curious to see how operating, this would help you in that regard. Continue to scroll down. We have the any with a small account, less than 10K. We have our opinion in regards to what makes sense to look at and growing that account. Again, just our opinion, but could help you. How to pick trades from an options or equity perspective, or how to pick ideas, from an options or equity perspective by overlaying your own criteria on top of the ideas presented. I always say, treat us like we're a scanner. And then, when you look at a scanner, you have your own criteria. Okay, I like to trade these types of price names. I like to trade this, setup, this and that, this type of risk reward. And then you would just simply apply that over top of what we're doing. And then you're going to get left with, only things that make sense for you and your account, right? If that makes sense. Continue to scroll down. We also have this high conviction small account, area, which is, there's gonna be less ideas in it. So if you're having issues following along on all the ideas, then that may be easier for you to check out. Pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got going on today, guys? A couple different things. So we have the couple names that are gapping up, gapping down here. Of course, like I said, everything's posted. If you guys want to pause the YouTube stream and just simply read the pre-market action plan, you can certainly do so here, there. There you guys go. I think that should help you there. Okay. All the other charts are posted. Now let's take a look what we got going on today. So a couple different things that we're looking at. Tesla, Workday, BIB, Crowd, STT, and Woof. So Tesla gapping up slightly and simply the market. Workday stocks classes earnings managed to top Wall Street views. BIIB, sorry. 11 experts from leading medical institutions and 8 experts from Isaiah published full results of their phase 3 confirmatory clarity ad study for early Alzheimer's disease, gapping up on that. Let's take a look at the Crowd. Earnings beat, EPS and revs. Year-over-year growth 52.8%. Q4 guidance lowered for revs and EPS up, gapping down on that. SCT announces agreement to terminate its planned $3.5 billion purchase of Brown Brothers Harriman's Investor Service Unit. And then lastly, Woof gapping up on earnings. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two we're looking at today, guys, going to be that Tesla and going to be that Workday. So let's have a gander at that. There we go. One sec, guys. I'm just going to scroll back here. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's why. I'm like, where is it? It's on the wrong chart. Okay, so Tesla and what did I say? Tesla and Workday. Let's go. Yeah. A little turned around there just because I couldn't find the platform. So Tesla, guys, 182.15 pivot, in my opinion, to the upside today. That level holds. You have room on the upside, and the next resistance will be 185.97 to 189.94. Unable to hold 179.05 to 176.91 on the downside. Workday 156.13 is the pivot point to the upside today, in my opinion. Level holds. Next resistance level will be the 159.03. That breaks 162.91 will be the next resistance. Pivot unable to hold. You have the next support at 153.13. Breaks. The next support would be 150.49 on the downside. In that case, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point can hold. Let's take a look at BIAB. Let's take a look at Crowd. So BIAB, guys, pivot to the upside today, in my opinion, will be 302.79. Level holds. Next resistance, 307.86. That breaks 311.76. Unable to hold. The next support is 296.35, and below that is 291.72. Leaning bullish neutral, in my opinion, if pivot can hold. Crowd 133.43 is the pivot point to the upside today, in my opinion, or sorry, downside today, in my opinion. That level is unable to hold. We have room to the next support, which would be 109.06 to 104.35. Above that pivot, 116.55 to 120.24 would be the next two resistance levels. And then below this, guys, we have STT and we have Woof. STT pivot to the upside today is 79.19. If that level is able to be staying intact, it has room to $80 to 81.19. Unable to hold, 77.90 is the next support. Below that, 76.52. Leaning bullish neutral if pivot can hold, in my opinion. And then Woof 10.99 is your pivot to the upside today on the daily, in my opinion. That level holds. Next resistance 111.55 to 112.07. Unable to hold. The next supports will be 10.67 to 10.12. And I'm leaning bullish only if pivot can be reclaimed, in my opinion, there as well. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. options area. There we go. So SPY. Let's take a look here, guys. SPY 39484. Oops. Is a pivot point to the upside today, in my opinion. That level holds. You got room into the 39793 resistance, or that's the next resistance, I should say. Above that, we have 401.59 tested. Unable to hold. The next support on the downside is 309.90. That level breaks. The next support below that would be 388 on the downside. Overall, I'd be leaning bullish neutral if that pivot point is able to stay intact. So that's the SPY. Let's take a look at the rest of the FANG here. I'm just going to shut this off. I don't know. I did that. There we go. Oops, didn't mean to click that button. All right. All right, let's take a look at Apple. So Apple, guys, what do I have? Pivot to the upside today, or downside, I should say, is 142.44. That pivot's unable to hold. Next support is 140.24 to 137.67. Able to hold 144.23 on the upside as the next resistance. Leaning bearish on that. Let's take a look at Amazon. Pivot to the downside, I have, in my opinion, today will be 92.80. Unable to hold. That next support is 91.47 to 90.53. Able to hold 94.45. 94.52 would be the next resistance on the upside. Netflix. Pivot to the let's actually, I wrote it or did it over here, so let's do it over here. Netflix pivot I have on the upside today, in my opinion, will be 282.49. Level holds 285.41, 289.01 into the next resistance levels above it. Unable to hold. That support I have is 277.38 to 272.36. Take a look at Meta. Pivot to the upside I have on the chart is, in my opinion, the 109.45 levels unable to hold. That 108.12 support, then 104.50 supports are below it. Able to hold 110.98 to 112.79 would be the next resistance levels above that. Let's take a look at Google. Google pivot to the upside today, in my opinion, would be the 95.58 spot. Level holds. That 96.94 to 98.10 levels are the next resistance levels above it. Unable to hold. I see 94.04 to 92.96 on the downside. And overall on that, I'm leaning on the bearish neutral side there as well, in my opinion, if pivot's unable to hold. All right, VIX pivot 2180 level holds. I see 2331, unable to hold 2047. Well, not leaning any particular direction, but using it for direction on the market. That's the best way I like to use the VIX. Qs, I got 279.88 pivot to the upside today on the Qs. In my opinion, if that level holds, 283.44, 287.39 are the next resistance above it. Unable to hold. The next supports I have are 273.80 to 268.63. And I'm leaning on the bullish neutral side on QQQs, in my opinion, only if that pivot point can hold. Otherwise, obviously, it's got some room lower, and that's going to break the flag support on the daily as well. And then last but not least, guys, IWM, I have 182.40 as my pivot. My opinion on the daily, if that level holds, 184.36 to 187.15 and the next resistance above it. Unable to hold, I see 180.59 support to 179.02 supports as the next levels that are closest to that pivot on the downside for supports. So overall, that's what I'm looking at, guys. I think it's going to be an interesting day. Obviously, Powell speaking, and then we have the Chicago PMI as well, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting one. I think you're going to have some decent volatility. If you guys want to pop into chat, you can do so. You can go to SpartanTrading.com. You can sign up there. We stream every single day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Discord chat's open 24/7. And yeah, some great ideas on the options and equity side, in my opinion there. So anyways, questions, feel free to reach out. And